Post-production for live-action movies has largely been the domain of the film laboratory. All sorts of photochemical processes have been used over the years to create the final look of a picture. When it came to Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, filmmakers Joel and Ethan Coen and director of photography Roger Deakins decided to depart from convention. For the first time, the look of an entire live-action feature was manipulated digitally.
The major challenge of this picture was the final look.
Roger Deakins and the Coen brothers approached us while they were in the pre-production stage of the movie. They had an idea of what they wanted to see on the film. They didn't know how to get to that vision.
So we want it to look, very dry and dusty and have a sort of feel of an old picture book.
Before Roger came to CineSite, he had already spent about 3 weeks at a lab using photochemical processes, various different types of photochemical processes, to try and get the look he wanted.
What we're talking about is trying to replace some traditional laboratory processes that have really become archaic in the world of digital post-production.
When they were talking about this picture, and they were talking about this Dust Bowl era sort of look, and so then became this whole issue how to alter the image enough to get the look they wanted. Let's go in Mississippi. I said, okay, well, when are you shooting? And they said June, July. I said, well, it's going to look just like Ireland. It's not going to look like dry and brown and dusty.
Answer printing is a process that has been going on for films for 50 or 60 years. Every film is shot out of sequence. When it's cut together, the color needs to be balanced. And I think the best example I can give you would be a chase scene that is shot over a 15-day period in all different times of day, different weather from day to day, and ultimately needs to look like it all happened in the same 5 minutes.
Conventional lab work actually is fairly restricting. I mean, you've got 3 primary colors you can balance between, a red, green, and blue. So you've got 3 color separation.
Even the solution that develops the film itself can cause that to drift toward the magenta, toward the yellow. So it's a hit and miss process.
Then you've got additional techniques that can be used, which is like bleach bypass, which is a process where the silver, which is basically the catalyst to the color development, you can leave it in the negative or the print, and that acts as a sort of black and white layer within the emulsion. You can flash it. You can flash the negative, which is basically expose the negative to an overall light level, which basically softens the whole look. It fills in the shadows and gives you a sort of softer look. There's techniques like that, but basically you're stuck with the balance between the 3 primary colors. What happened is we started thinking, well, is digital technology far enough along?
What we're trying to do here is what we're calling digital answer printing, where you incorporate digital tools up front in the process.
As we began the process, the biggest challenge is really matching what you see on a digital display to, in simple terms, a television display, with what you see in a theatrical environment on a movie screen. The way the digital intermediate process works is to take the film negative after it has been conformed. In other words, it's all been cut together, all the shots are in the right order. We bring it into here and we put it on what's called a data cine. And that data cine takes the film and it transfers it into a digital format. While that's happening, we are also color grading every shot in the film. To do that, we use what's called a color corrector, and the colorist is somebody who basically works with color. So the client may, whether it be Roger Deakins or someone else, may say, can you make that more red? The colorist can make it more red. He can take someone's face and change the color of the face. He can take a shirt and change the color of the shirt. He can really go in and adjust very carefully the elements in the image.
The final image seems a little bit yellow, doesn't it? Probably those trees were a little bit more brown. Doesn't it?
Once that's been done, then we take it into a computer workstation and we do all the fades and dissolves. So when the picture fades to black, we do that digitally. If you dissolve from one scene to another, we do all that digitally. Once the whole film has been assembled on the digital workstation, then we record it back out to film again using a laser film recorder. And that's where we merge in with the traditional process again. The film goes to the lab, it's developed, a print is made, the cinematographer looks at the print, decides that he likes it, and then multiple prints are made which go to the movie theaters.
Now, if we were doing this film and it had to be done chemically, we wouldn't have got nearly the look we've got. We would have had to, you know, filter the original negative. We would have gone through a whole series. I would have probably ended up flashing, developing the picture, shooting with a sepia filter on the camera, all these sort of things. But because we knew we were going to come into Digital Suite, we actually shot a very clean negative. And of course, the joke is that Joel and Ethan never want to see the film printed in color from the original negative, because they saw one shot and they were just like so appalled, because it's just the antithesis of what we were wanting to achieve. But in order to have the control digitally, you wanted those saturated colors so you could actually select them later on as a digital image.
I think it's quite likely that familiarity with this process would change the way a film gets made. For instance, we have a process that we use where we can key off a particular color. We can eliminate all the colors around it and only bring that one color back.
What this shot is an example of just how powerful the tools we have in here. As you can tell, we've taken out all the color in the background and we've just left the blue of the flower that the clown's wearing in his lapel.
These types of variations of color and creating of imagery has been known for years. It's just now there's freedom to use it at the film level.
The siren scene, it worked best in a way. The siren scene has two sections. It's where they meet the sirens and when then George and Tim, their characters, wake up later on, having slept off the hangover, and they see John Turturro's character's clothes sitting there, and John's nowhere to be found, right? And so that whole second part, when the sirens and John Turturro disappeared, it's got a slightly different look than the first part. And the first part, we went for a kind of quite a saturated sort of look, with separating the green of the trees and making it a very kind of rich golden color. The chain gang scene at the beginning and the end, that's again something the guys said they wanted to basically start with a black and white image and gradually go into a color film. This is one of the ideas from very early on. We thought, well, let's just go from a fairly pastel black and white and gradually bring the color in on that scene.
There are so many tools now, so many ways that they can vary the color. For instance, the very last scene in the movie, as George Clooney is walking with Holly Hunter and walking with the children in tow, I believe the color in the movie became a character. I believe it washes over the audience as you view it as a character. It lets you feel the period of time. It lets you feel the heat in the air. It lets you feel the sweat on their body. And that is something that the filmmaker could not capture in camera and could only use digital technology to let them capture that.
It takes courageous filmmakers like the Coen brothers and Roger Deakins to present us with this type of practical example.
I think technology knows no bounds, really. I think eventually cinema will be electronic. Before it's anything else, it'll change again probably after that. And that's going to have a huge effect on the nature of movie making and movies. I mean, it's going to open up a whole new way of being able to create images. The next evolution will be, as I say, you shoot film, you scan it into the digital world, you never see that film again.